You're watching the Autos 360 Network.
Hey everybody, I'm Rick Walker. Welcome to the SST CAR Show, Sunday Night Live. Tonight we have a special guest joining us, Mr. John.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, how are you?
How's it going, everybody? Good. How you doing, Rick?
Excellent. So, right out of the what we're going to talk about tonight is Trans Ams and Jeeps, because John, you restored, built, in my opinion, one of the nicest Smokey and the Bandit tribute Trans Ams in the country. And you're heavily into the Jeep scene now. And I think that's pretty cool. But I have to ask you right off the top, have you lost your mind? Because I saw that you're thinking of selling that Trans Am and everybody's upset about it.
Yeah, I think when COVID started, and we're all going to blame this on COVID, car shows just stopped happening altogether, and there wasn't a lot of gatherings with the classic cars. But the Jeep world, it didn't slow down at all, because I mean, you're off in the trails and stuff, and you're not standing beside other car enthusiasts. So honestly, I've only driven it 8 times in the last 2 years.
Right.
So I think it's time. Although I still love it, and it's still my dream car that I've had since I was 6 years old, it needs to go on to somebody who can enjoy it more than I will or have.
Well, the car is beautiful, and we did have you up to the Ottawa Gatineau International Auto Show. That's going on now 3 years ago, I think, 2019. The show hasn't happened since then. The show, unfortunately, we just heard is not happening again this year because of all the COVID restrictions. So I really feel for Peter, who is the show organizer, and for everybody, really, because it's just devastating. But, you know,
that was a good show, too.
Yeah, it's really incredible, you know, what goes on up there with all the auto companies involved and the features that are brought in. And it's just classy, too, right? It's at the convention center. So, I mean, you were at the last show with that car, and you were one of the main attractions with that Smokey and the Bandit Trans Am.
Yeah, me and my buddy Ray, who had the police car, we still talk about that show.
Yeah. In fact, go ahead. You were going to say something about Ray?
Yeah, and I know that people came from, hours away from Ottawa just to see our cars.
Yeah. The Star Car exhibit was, I think it was the biggest attraction of the whole thing, maybe even more than the new cars. But all the auto companies come and spend huge money. But I know that there's just people love that culture, right? The pop culture that surrounds all of those cars, whether it's the Fast and the Furious or Ghostbusters or Mad Max or Smokey and the Bandit or Dukes of Hazzard or whatever that might be.
Absolutely, yeah.
But people must be upset when I know people are upset, people who know you. I think they're more upset about you selling the car than you are.
Yeah, I think you're right. Absolutely. Now, I got quite a few texts on Facebook saying, "What are you, crazy? Are you crazy?" Well, or if I won the lottery, I'd be there in a heartbeat,
Yeah. Well, I do have a video clip lined up that we produced back in 2019 when you were at the Ottawa show. And I just want to run it now so that people can see the car and get kind of the background information on you, your car, on Ray and his car. So let me run that right now. And after that, the conversation with you will continue.
You're looking at a match made on the silver screen and at car shows. Smokey and the Bandit. This 1977 Trans Am is considered by many to be one of North America's best, most accurate tributes to the 1977 Trans Am, driven by Burt Reynolds in the original Smokey and the Bandit movie. John Hockley of London, Ontario, restored this car, doing much of the work himself. When he found it, it was a basket case.
When I bought this car, somebody turned it into a race car. So the flares were actually built into the car. The door handles were shaved. There was a roll cage in it. So I ripped everything out and replaced it all, put new stuff in from scratch.
Behind the Trans Am sits a 1976 Pontiac Le Mans. Yes, Smokey is in hot pursuit. This tribute to the car driven in the movie by Jackie Gleason is owned by Ray Price and son of Dundalk, Ontario.
Basically, we just had to strip all the molding and chrome off it and sand it down, repaint it. We found it at a cruise night, and as soon as we seen it, we knew this is what had to be done to it. And we made a deal, and we brought it home and did it over the winter, so it was ready for the spring. And here we are today, and we've added the uniforms.
We didn't decide to do the uniforms, but attention and people asked where they were, and after the fact we did the shirts first and they were very successful, so from there we just kind of did the whole uniform.
Now Smokey and the Bandit travel together to car shows like this one, the Ottawa Gatineau International Auto Show.
You'd be amazed how many people say, I've been wanting this car, and how they really love the movie because of the car, and they're into cars altogether because of Smokey and the Bandit. That's pretty much their first experience with, old American muscle.
Everything about the Trans Am is accurate. The interior, the decals, the huge Firebird on the hood, the style of wheel, the engine and transmission, the Citizen Band radio, everything is just as it was in the film in 1977. The police car is spot on too, but remains a work in progress.
We go to a show, it's memories for them. We like to see them take a picture and watch the movie, and they're sitting in the same car.
Today, the Smokey and the Bandit films live on through on-demand movies and through the owners of these cars, who are making new memories for many people, new fans who line up to have their photos taken with these star cars.
It's a crowd pleaser, no doubt. It's a sweet car.
John Hockley says he was lucky to meet Burt Reynolds a short time before the actor passed away, and that only added fuel to his Firebird passion. Now, John hosts a Firebird Trans Am only show every year at the Steve Plunkett Estate in London, Ontario, and it attracts other enthusiasts from across Canada and the United States.
Absolutely, and that's the thing with car guys. I mean, we're a tight-knit group, and we don't really have to have much in common. We have cars in common, and for the most part, that's pretty much all we need.
Rick Walker, SST Car Show News, Ottawa, Ontario.
And there you have it. That is one beautiful car, and you did like a lot of the work, if not all of it, yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I didn't paint it, but a lot of the restoration itself, me and one other guy did it. Yeah.
I just don't, John. I don't know how you let that. I just don't know how you let that go. How you can sell that.
Well, the thing is, I can start over again. So my life in the Trans Am world is not over 100%. It's just put on hold for a little while. Now, seeing all this Smokey and the Bandit stuff wanted me to show you something here. The 4K DVD just came out, but here's my old one, my Blu-ray, and check that out.
Hey, signed, autographed.
And then one of the guys that lives in New York, who comes to my Trans Am show each year, he sent me this. Oh, there we go. Which he got.
Wow.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
So
That is
that's a replica of the car that's in my garage.
unbelievable. And so you did meet Burt Reynolds. So tell us about meeting Burt Reynolds. What was that like? What's he like?
It was a Comic-Con experience. So it was a paid event. He had to be there. And so I think meeting people on those terms, I mean, it's a little bit different than if you met him walking down the street or whatever. So he was very pleasant. You know, I got to tell him that I saw the movie when I was a kid, and told him that my dad was a through and through Ford guy and tried to talk me out of being a Pontiac guy, which he wasn't successful at.
Yeah.
So he got a kick out of that story for sure. Yeah.
Well, Burt Reynolds was a huge, huge star, and in the car world, you know, like royalty, really.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, over the years too, with going to the car shows and the comic conventions and sort of being in that world, you've met a lot of celebrities.
I have. Yeah.
Yeah. So who are some of the other, you know, people that of note that you can tell us about?
Well, I've met the members of KISS and Van Halen. I met Eddie Van Halen and David Lee Roth, and but I think the most popular person that I've ever met is Paul McCartney. Yeah,
That's amazing.
I met him in Toronto at the airport.
And
So-
all those musicians, that must hold a special place for you, because I know that you play guitar too.
Yeah, I do. And Beatles were a huge influence, still are a huge influence to me today. So to meet him, it was like royalty.
Yeah.
And all the celebrities that I've met after him, it's just, you know, there's no way at that level.
Yeah, I was just on your Facebook page. I have been, you know, from time to time. And I mean, like here, who else have you met? So here's you with Christopher Plummer.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
that was in Stratford. He was playing live at the theaters there.
Wow. Wow. I mean, I talk about royalty, like that
Mhm.
guy, huge, right?
Yeah, his movies, he's been over in 160 movies.
Unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy, Dennis DeYoung from Styx.
Yeah, the original lead singer for Styx, keyboardist. Yeah, that was in Kitchener at center of the square. It's called.
Yeah, yeah. And and this guy,
Yeah, Bunny Carlos from Cheap Trick.
yeah. And who else have we got here?
Oh yes, we kind of look like brothers there, don't we?
I was gonna say you guys could be related, man. Like that's hilarious. Where was
Yeah.
that? Where did you meet Ricky from Trailer Park Boys?
Actually, the Trailer Park Boys were doing a live show, and that was at Centennial Hall down in London here.
Okay. And
Yeah, so-
then Cindy Williams from
Yes.
Vernon Shirley and American Graffiti.
That was at the Steve Plunkett estate.
Right. I met her there as well.
Yeah.
Very nice lady.
Absolutely,
really
yeah.
was. Yeah. Yeah. She was very accommodating. I got to do a little interview with her that day, and just so nice. So
Mhm.
nice.
Yeah.
So and any bites on your Trans Am so far? Have you advertised it or?
I got it on Facebook Marketplace and Kijiji, and I've had quite a bit of interest in it. But a lot of tire kickers, you know how it is. I got one guy who's really serious about it, and but he's out of the country till next week, and he says he's going to plan on coming and see me next week. It's kind of bittersweet, to be honest with you. You know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we don't normally sell cars on this show, but what kind of price are you looking for?
I've got over 100,000 into it, and I got it listed for 70 grand, which
Well-
I think somebody's going to get one heck of a deal, because
Yeah.
every single nut and bolt on that car is new. So
Wow. Well, you know what they say: if you restore it right, you'll lose money on it.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, buy them done, and then you're usually in a much better position. And when you say 100 grand, like is that just that's just the parts, or is that factoring in labor? Or?
It's not. There's no labor there because that was me, right, and one other guy. So part of the labor was paying him, but yeah, and most of it was buying parts for these things. I didn't go with any repop stuff. It's all original, all new original stuff. Some of the cosmetic stuff like the dash bezel and the bezels on the front lights, those are repops. I mean, you'll never get anything that looks brand new that's 45 years old. So, but all the steel panels, it's all original stuff. So that's a pretty penny.
Yeah. What was it about the Trans Am? Was it the movie that got you focused on the Trans Am? Is that why you fell in love with it?
Oh yeah, definitely. So when I watched the movie the very first time, the car was just as much of a star in the movie as Burt Reynolds was, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think Burt Reynolds, Jerry Reed, Sally Field, and the car. That's the way I always looked at it. So, and then the next movie, Hooper, that he was in 1978, he was driving a red Trans Am. So that made me fall in love with that vehicle even more. So,
yeah. Well, the style too. I mean, it was just so back then, and even now, it's just so over the top. And gorgeous lines. I mean, there's never been anything else like it.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's been imitations, but it doesn't touch it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It does.
Yeah. You know, like the pony cars, like the Mustangs, the Challengers, they're beautiful too. But I don't know. There was something about the Trans Ams. To me, they looked more futuristic, more whether it was your style or the Knight Rider style, which was even more. When I saw those things come out, those blew me away too. I thought that is like a spaceship, when I was a kid. So, yeah.
Driving itself and everything. Yeah, for sure.
What about the drivetrain, everything under the hood? Is that exactly what they were using in the movie car itself, or did they have different cars?
They had, I think it was 4 or 5 different Trans Ams used in the movie. And one of them was actually a 76 that was rebadged and a new front clip went on it to make it look like a 77 because it was so new, they didn't have enough. So I know the 76 was a 455, but the 77, which was the main car in the movie, was a 400, and that's what I have.
I see.
The 403 didn't come until 1978 because of the popularity of the Trans Am. Because of the movie, they couldn't keep up with the demand for the engines, so they ran out of them and had to start using Oldsmobile engines in them.
So when you were restoring the car, where did you go to research the vehicle to make sure that it was as accurate as you could make it?
Well, most of it was from memory because I've seen the movie several hundred times. So I knew the inside and out. But I went to 78transam.com, which is one of the websites. I'm not sure if they're actually still if they're still up or not, but there was a lot of information on there. And there was another website called transamcountry.com. And I got on there and asked a lot of mechanical questions and got a lot of great advice from a lot of people.
Yeah.
So,
and that Trans Am show that you've been involved with and you organized that at the Steve Plunkett estate. Is that still going on, or was it even possible to run that over the last couple of years?
So with COVID, we couldn't have it for the last 2 years. This year, I am planning on having it again. So whether I have a Trans Am or not, it doesn't matter because it's all about the charities that I'm raising the money for as well. So.
And what charities what charities benefit from that?
Just the one, and it's I donate 100% of the proceeds to breast cancer research.
Okay.
I did this exact same thing with my my Jeep show that I had this year or last year.
Yeah, and so you have kind of shifted gears, so to speak, and you are very focused on the whole Jeep thing now. I've noticed. So tell us how you got involved with that. What what prompted that?
Well, I've always wanted a Jeep since I was a kid. I had one 20 years ago, and I did a lot of stuff with it, but I was never part of a lot of groups. Um, but getting into the car scene, I'm used to going to cruise nights and car shows every day throughout the summer. With COVID happening and none of the shows were happening, um, I couldn't go to any of those. I bought myself a Jeep and I went on to Facebook, found a couple of local clubs, and I noticed that they were getting together and doing some stuff, doing some trails and doing some coffee meetups and stuff like that. So I was welcomed with open arms into the Jeep community. And really, it just took off from there. And it's been fantastic.
Yeah.
One of the best things about the Jeep community versus the car community is everybody has the same passion for the same vehicle. You've got 200 people at a car show and they all love the exact same vehicle. You go to a car show, you've got a quarter of the population likes Ford, a quarter of the population likes Dodge, Pontiac, and so on and so forth. So it's great to have variety, but it's also great to be with people that have the same passions as you.
Well, you said to me before when I asked you to be a guest tonight, you said, I don't know if your audience would be that interested in Jeeps.
That's right. Yeah.
I thought, of course they're going to be interested in Jeeps, because whether you own a Jeep or not, it's such an iconic brand. There's so much history behind Jeep. The World War II beginnings,
Mm-hmm.
the different companies that have owned the brand being purchased, I think back in the 80s when Lee Iacocca was the head of Chrysler. So Chrysler kind of brings that brand into the fold, and just the way it's evolved over time. And then, FCA, and now it's part of Stellantis, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But through it all, it's you look at a Jeep and it is still a Jeep. It looks like a Jeep. It's very distinct.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And to me, anyway, it seems like it's today the kind of vehicle that has appeal across demographics.
Mm-hmm.
Because you've got the urban warriors. My next door neighbor's daughter, she bought one. She's a nurse, right?
That's awesome.
She
Yeah.
drives around town in her Jeep. But you go out with your buddies from the Jeep club, and you go off roading with it. And so, you get a Jeep Grand Cherokee and ride around in luxury, or you can get an off-road thing. But no matter what you're doing with it, it's a Jeep. And
That's
it's
right.
distinctly a Jeep.
And there's a Jeep code too. Like when we're driving down the street, and this is for the car people too. But when we drive down the street, we see another Jeep, we give the peace sign, right? Which is kind of like a nod. Great, you own a Jeep. I love your Jeep, right? So
Yeah,
that's always nice. Called the Jeep Wave.
yeah. What is it that attracts Jeep people to those kinds of vehicles? Is it a lifestyle thing?
It certainly is, and I felt that lifestyle the minute I purchased my Jeep. It completely changed my outlook on vehicles, right? Because my Trans Am, I would never go anywhere with it. I'd go to car shows with it, and God forbid you get like 5 feet close to my car, I'll get all nervous and, oh my God, I could get away from my car. My Jeep, come on over, take a look, hop inside. This is what I've done to it, and it's pretty common for a Jeep owner to modify their Jeeps. They'll lift it, they'll put bigger tires on it, they'll put bigger fenders on it, change out the front bumper, the rear bumpers, and do all kinds of things with it. It's a pretty common thing. Not every Jeeper does it, but so I mean that creates a kind of a buzz between the Jeepers as well, because they want to come up and see what you've done with it.
Right.
And really, there is two different activities that you can do in Jeeps. Most people, when you think of Jeeps, you think of off-roading. There's another thing that is called overlanding. And so I've got two Jeeps now. I've got a Wrangler, which you've seen, and I've got a Jeep truck. Now the Jeep truck is called a Gladiator, and I put a tent on the top. And now my wife and we're going to go off grid. We're going to go up to Muskoka where no roads go, and we're going to go right to the lake, pop the tent on top of my Jeep, and stay there for a week. It's got a shower built into it. It's got a kitchen built into it. It's just a lot of fun.
Yeah. And so by overlanding, what exactly is meant by overlanding? It's like well, you explain it for the viewers.
Well, overlanding is exactly how it sounds. You're going overland. So you're not necessarily off-roading, but most of the time you are on trails, and you're going to locations that roads don't go to. So if you got, like my wife's Honda CRV, for example, won't take you to where we'll be going this summer. There's places like the Grand Canyon. We'll be going there this summer, and Utah to Moab, and you're on top of these huge mountains. Yeah, here's some prime examples of some pictures that you're showing right now. Mm-hmm. That we can go to that a normal vehicle can't take you to. The 4x4 system in it, the lockers that are in it will take you to places that, and it'll make it a lot easier for you to get there as well.
Now, you know, there are other kinds of off-road vehicles.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know,
yeah.
What happens if somebody shows up in a Ford Bronco?
Oh, they're more than welcome to come with us. Yeah. Because really it's about the love of overlanding. So I belong to a group called Overland North, and they host an overland get-together twice a year. And I think 90% of them are Toyota owners, to be honest with you. There's more Toyotas than there are Jeeps. And, you know, it's still a fun time.
Yeah.
So
still, though, there's something about that Jeep brand. It's, I don't know. It's like a Skidoo, right? It's a snowmobile, but everybody calls it a Skidoo.
That's right.
You know, it's that iconic, right? I have
Skidoo's a name brand. It's not actually what it is. It's a name brand, right? Yeah. So,
and you have your own YouTube channel going too, where I've noticed you have some videos up of some of the stuff you've been doing with these Jeep guys. I have a little clip right here. I'm just going to run this. It's not very long, just to show some of the action that you've recorded on your YouTube channel. So let's take a look at this clip of you going off-roading with some of your buddies.
Film me from straight behind me.
You're not going to do that in your Trans Am.
Nope, not at all.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, that's up in Ardbeg, which is about an hour past Perrystown.
Yeah. Well, it looks like you have a lot of videos on your YouTube channel. All of them seem to be pretty lengthy too. So there's all kinds of awesome footage on there. Is there how can people find your YouTube channel? How can you direct them if they want to see more of that stuff?
Actually, if you look up JL Johnny's Jeep Life, that's how you would find me on there. Or if you type in London, Ontario Jeeps, that'll probably pop you up onto my Facebook or my YouTube group as well.
Okay, and That is a picture of your Jeep Club website, right?
Yeah.
So how do people find that?
I usually hand out cards at the shows, and if I'm driving down the street and I go to a mall or something and I see another Jeep owner, I'll go up to him and I'll say, "Hey, if you're interested in coming to a Jeep meet or one of our convoys, we do it weekly." I give them a card and they would join the group, and yeah, it's a lot of fun.
And I guess you have through these Jeep events and shows some charities that have benefited from your club activities as well, right?
Yeah, so we had a show down at Forest City Dodge this summer, and it was a 3-hour show. We raised $9,650 for breast cancer research. It was awesome. It was probably the biggest Jeep show this year of 2021, which is awesome. And we plan on doing it again this year. So,
wow.
Yeah. And then just over the holidays here, we had a toy drive, and we had 6 or 7 Jeeps filled of toys donated to victim services so that some of the less fortunate could have a nice Christmas this year as well. So
awesome job. That's incredible. How have you think the Jeeps changed or evolved? Where are they kind of at right now? Like, Chrysler had them for a while. Now they're part of this Stellantis group. Fiat's involved with all of this stuff now. How do you find the quality or the technology or the changes? How has the vehicle changed? What are your views on that?
Well, my last Jeep was a 2000 TJ, and it drove like a tank. You felt every bump on the road, and you heard every bump on the road because your Jeep would creak and crack and everything else. The newer Jeeps, honestly, it's like driving a Cadillac. It's that comfortable. The suspensions are so much better in the JLs and the JTs than they were in the JKs, which is only 4 years ago. So they've really stepped up and made a better vehicle for sure.
So are you giving up anything in terms of durability or toughness in order to get some of those comfort, creature comforts?
Not at all. My Wrangler, you'd be surprised. Even my wife would say all the time, "I can't believe that Jeep is capable of doing what you just did, climbing up a side of a mountain at like 45-degree angles and not having a problem with it." And Jeeps can still do this kind of thing. So one of the good things that they came up with in the JL model versus the JK is we no longer have steel bodies. One of the biggest issues with Jeeps is their rust buckets, right? You're driving them through mud, you're driving them year round through the salt and everything else. Well, aluminum doesn't rust. So the doors are lighter, and the fenders, they don't fall apart on you after owning them for a few years. So that's another big plus.
And you can personalize your Jeep in a lot of ways that you can't with other vehicles, because Jeep really does have all kinds of after parts and performance add-ons that are available after you make the initial purchase, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And most of this stuff is plug and play. You don't have to drill holes for like probably 90% of the stuff that you can get aftermarket. It'll just fit right over top of the OEM spots. Which is awesome, which is unheard of. I know in you're the old muscle cars, even if to put a wing on, you'd have to drill a hole through your rear trunk or something. This, with the Jeeps, you don't have to do any of that. You take the old steps off, and the new steps fit right on it, and so on and so forth. So it's really well thought out.
And Mustangs were kind of they tapped into that retro look. So you got this sort of retro modernistic car. They've done that with the Challenger and some other cars too. Jeep, in a way, they kind of do that with things like the Gladiator. They always reach back into their past and their history, their heritage, and they bring those design elements forward. to give us something modern. And when I saw the new Gladiator come out, I was really impressed. I love those things. I haven't driven one. I haven't been in one yet. I've seen them at car shows.
Well, you have to come over. I'll let you be a passenger in mine anytime you want.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'll take you up on that.
Yeah, for sure.
But is that one of the reasons, though? Do you think that Jeep has had the longevity that it has?
It's a good possibility, because one of the things that you're talking about, the retro look, Jeeps don't really have a retro look because they never really changed their look, right? Just in the past 20 years, they went from always a two-door model to now having a four-door model. So that changed a little bit, but the looks of the outside didn't really change at all. So I think that the lifestyle really appeals to the consumer more than the look, maybe.
How do you deal with insurance issues when you're going off-roading?
So I have a separate insurance company just for off-road use than my road use. Yeah.
Is that expensive?
I think it's like $2,000. It kind of is, yeah, but it's kind of like having two full insurance policies, right? But that covers all the parts that I put on it, like the lift and all the suspensions, and something happens to my tent, whatever, right? So
right. I wouldn't want to be the insurance company when I see what you guys are doing, or what everybody does with those Jeeps off road. But when you're out there, you're trying. I mean, you're doing your best to not damage the vehicle, right?
And one of the great things is we get people that are out there watching you, and they're guiding you in and saying, go to the left, go to the right. Well, they'll say go passenger or go driver, so you know which way you're talking about. And there's always somebody out front watching. So if you're the person in the front, though, I mean, it's a little harder. So in 2020, in the Gladiators, in 2021, and on the Rubicons, they now have a front camera that's in the grille. So if you are the leader of the pack and you're going up a mountain and you can't see the ground, you're not going to drive off a cliff. You're going to just turn your camera on, and you're going to see what's in front of you, and you can, look at the whole obstacle that you're on. So
I've noticed too, from some of the photos on your Facebook page, that there's snow in some of these shots. So if you're going to like a car show, those are all in the summer or around these parts, right? Nobody goes to a car show outside in the winter. But with Jeeps, that's a whole different story.
Yeah. Actually, a bunch of the guys from my group went yesterday doing some winter wheeling. So yeah, that was pretty awesome.
So is that a different experience to go out in the winter when you're going through slush and snow and on ice and stuff?
Oh, yeah. So your traction's a lot different, right? Yeah. It's probably the same as going out after a really hard rain. So your traction control, but you've got thicker tires, and when you air down, it really grabs onto stuff, so you'll be able to get through some sticky situations. Makes it a little easier for you. And not to mention, a lot of us have winches on the front, so if we get stuck, we just hook up to the Jeep that's in front of us, it's not stuck, and just pull us out of a tight spot.
Now, I've never owned a Jeep. I have driven a few, but the original Jeeps were set up really for torque, not for speed. Today's Jeeps, you're going off-roading, you're doing these things with it, you need the torque. But how are they on the highway and around town and using them day to day?
For a daily driver, it's a good vehicle. Mine is pretty powerful. I know that the JKs were a little bit tough to respond when you hit the pedal, but the JLs, they got a lot of torque to them. Now they just came out with a Hemi Jeep, the 392 Hemi Jeep, which I don't really get that, because Jeeps are supposed to be slow, and they still are supposed to be slow. So if you want a Hemi, that's awesome. I guess if you're on the salt flats or something, that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah. So if I were to go to a Jeep meet or if I became part of the Jeep culture. What is it about Jeep people that sort of sets them apart? I mean, if I go to a Ferrari meet, that's one sort of person, right? If I go to a Corvette club, that's a different group of people again. There are all these groups of people within the car community. Describe to me, what is a Jeep owner? What the personality or the disposition?
I think with a Jeep, once you buy a Jeep, you instantly have thousands of friends, thousands of family members. If you're stuck on a trail somewhere, you get onto Facebook, you type in, "This is where I am, I'm stuck." A complete stranger will come and bail you out, which is unheard of in any other culture, really.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. They'll say, "Oh, you're a half an hour down the road. I'm on my way. I'll be there. I'll help you out." So I've been in the auto industry for 30 years, and I've never experienced that kind of brotherhood.
So you must have a lot of events planned over the next, well, you're even doing them in the winter. So can you tell me about some of the events coming up if people wanted to go just even to look at what you guys are doing or check you guys out or maybe join?
Yeah. So Chuck's Roadhouse on Exeter and Wellington. Right now, we're limited to 10 people, so it's kind of off for now. But once that's lifted, we usually meet there every Sunday at 2:00. And we get, 30, 40 Jeeps that come out every week. And then every Wednesday, we convoy out to Shaw's Ice Cream, which is a lot of fun, right? Anybody can join. You don't have to be a group member. Anybody that drives by, sees a whole bunch of Jeeps, we welcome them. The more the merrier. So, yeah, it doesn't matter if it's a stock Jeep, if it's a lifted Jeep, if you've got a Wrangler or you're driving a Patriot, doesn't matter. Come join us. It's a lot of fun.
The older stuff, there must be are there a lot of aftermarket parts to restore Jeeps?
Oh, yes. Yeah. So, there are shops out there that are dedicated to just Jeep parts out there. So, that's pretty awesome. So anything that you're looking for, it's pretty easy to find.
Okay.
On any Jeep. If you're looking for Jeeps in the 40s, they remake those parts as well.
That's a whole subset again, sort of the military Jeeps that, you go to military musters and events like that, and you find those things there. Are any of your members into that older?
There are a few, yeah. So the St. Thomas show that used to go downtown, I think it happened last year. There was a Jeep group that goes there, and it's all classic Jeeps from the the 40s and the 50s that go to that. So it's pretty awesome.
Right.
And they come out to a few of our shows as well, so that's fun.
Well, I mentioned that the Ottawa Gatineau International Auto Show is canceled again for 2022. We're now planning for 2023. I'd love to get you back up there at some point. I don't know if you're going to have your Trans Am anymore.
Well, like I said, I could start again, right?
Yeah, that's right. Well, you might still have it. I don't know. I can't believe you're thinking of selling that thing, but I sort of understand it at the same time. Yeah. So if somebody wants to get a hold of you, John, to find out about the Jeeps or maybe even to buy your car, how can they find you online or get in contact with you?
If you look me up on Facebook, my name is Johnny Hawk on Facebook. London, Ontario Jeeps at gmail.com is the email address. So you can get a hold of me through that. Yeah. And then, of course, through my YouTube channel as well. So.
All right. Well, I appreciate you joining us on the show tonight. It's
been a lot of fun.
Absolute privilege. Do Jeep owners have some sort of a sign off or a salutation or peace sign?
It's usually, we'll see you down the road.
Okay. And with that, we will sign off. Thank you very much, John Hockley, for joining us on SST Live.
Thank you, Rick.
Time. All right. And until next time, folks, I am Rick Walker reminding you, when you can't get to the car show, we will bring the car show to you online at sstcarshow.com and at the virtual auto show, now online at ottawaautoshow.com.